I'm Bella Lexi, and I'm here for the Anthony Rogers Show, and we are about to walk into Chicago Exotica.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Sean from Smile Empty Soul here in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri at Firebrand Recording, which is a wonderful studio here, tracking our new record, Swan Song, which will start to be released one song at a time here in probably about June, and then the whole thing will come out at the end of the year. So keep your ears peeled for it and check it out when it comes out.
So I'm Dennis with the Anthony Rogers Show podcast. My question for you is, what would you do if you became president to help the working class?
Well, I think the principal thing right now is housing. That the price of housing is going up, and it's beyond the reach of most American families.
Along with oil and gas and food.
Inflation is hurting everybody. And inflation is more complex. I can't say that I'm going to stop inflation overnight. What I can say is that I'm going to stop the long-term cause of inflation. I'm going to unravel a war machine. I'm going to reduce dramatically healthcare costs by ending the chronic disease.
Hey, it's your favorite comedian, Anthony Rogers, live in his tour bus, yeah. But also, you need to get a beard like this. People have been talking. They said your shit looks whack. It looks weird. They can't tell your pronouns. You need to get a beard like this right now. And the only way to do that is by using luxurious bastard beard oil. Great smell, great function, great everything. Just get this. And there's directions on how to use it if you know how to read. But use the link in the description. Go to the website. Use promo code LEGENDARY. Get a discount. Do it. Thank you. Boom.
Hi, I'm Danny from 710 Glass. Come check my shop out. This is our Capone rig. 10 mil joint. Smoke out of his head.
I'm AJ over at 710. This is our Puffco selection. This is a Peak Pro. It is completely Bluetooth compatible to your phone. You can control it completely from your phone. Lights, how long you want your session duration, what you want it to burn at.
Hi, I'm Jay at 710. Come check out our large selection of American hand pipes and American made glass.
Dude, we have everything.
Welcome back to the best podcast in the entire universe. I was starting to think that intro was never going to end. Like that was such a long intro.
I almost fell asleep. Actually, I was like, "Where am I?"
I was like, "Is this a prank show, or is this entire show just an intro?"
It's just like an hour of
just ads. It's like, have you considered buying this? Have you considered buying this? It's just like, man, that went forever.
Whatever guest gets through like the longest amount of intros wins a prize at the end. So we just keep it running to see how long they last.
Yeah, the only thing longer than the intro is our guest's name today. So it's the only thing longer than the intro. This guy, we're gonna bring him straight up. How you doing, Vijay, brother?
It's awesome. I'm doing awesome. Glad to be on the show.
Hi, how's it going?
Dude, awesome. I want to add some context for as a kind of an beginning of this episode for the hundreds or thousands of people watching cross-platform right now that may not have Googled you yet. So basically, this story caught attention. I think I saw this on Fox. This word originally got my attention. But so basically, correct me where I'm wrong. I'm not you, and I didn't live your life. But I'm saying, so basically, you're like an Indian dude, or Indian or Pakistani, or which I can't tell.
Indian.
Oh, okay, Indian. I thought so by the name. Okay. But yeah, no. So Indian dude pretended to be an African American to get into med school, basically because of how skewed the world is, in like just more or less. You can get in with a lower score pretending to be an African American. Is that true?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, for context for your audience, my sister's Mindy Kaling, so you can get a tone of how my from The Office and the Mindy Project. So you can get a tone of how
Oh
dark my
shit.
skin tone is just by looking at me, by looking at her. So
Yeah,
we have really dark skin. So, but when I
yeah.
applied to med school back in 1999. I kind of freaked out about my chances, and I figured out that as an Asian American, I was pretty much I don't know how I'm pretty much screwed. I don't know how much bad language I
Yeah.
can use on this podcast. It's pretty much
Oh, we're on
screwed.
Rumble. You can say whatever you want.
But I was like, I need to get into medical school. I want to become a doctor. So then I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
came up with one day I was playing basketball with this chain smoking constitutional law professor up at U Chicago by the name of Barack Obama, who you've probably heard of. And I remember looking at this really light skinned dude and thinking to myself, if he can call himself black and go to Harvard and Columbia, why can't I? So that's exactly what I did. I shaved my
Wow.
head. I trimmed my long Indian eyelashes. I joined the organization of black students and I posed as black to get into medical school. I kind of traveled across the country, pretending to be a black man. The climax of the story is walking into a medical school interview and having someone say, basically, you're lying about your race, and me having to back it off. So that's how I got into med school. I got into St. Louis University down the street over there, despite the fact that my 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average of 3.7. So I got into Wash U. I'm not sorry, I got waitlisted at Wash U. That's the third best medical school in the country. Not bad for a kid with the 3.1
Wow.
GPA. So I ran that affirmative action wagon all the way till
Wow.
to the wheels fell off.
So, and no one was like, you're not black, because they probably would never expect someone to be like, no, I identify. I mean, I can identify as a fucking lampshade. I feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty dark skinned, and so
Yeah.
I was never white. I've never white my whole life, and long before I posed as black, I've been called the N word and things like that.
Wow,
So I'm just like your typical Indian doctor's son, and
wow.
They shaved his head.
Indian doctor's son. So I just shaved my head. I look black,
You do look more black with a shaved head, bro. You do look. You don't look.
Wow.
After knowing the joke, though, I can see that you're not. But like, I can see how if I wasn't paying much attention to your shaved head, I wouldn't have been questioning it. He's like, why would you question that most of the time? So it's like,
Yeah.
I can totally see that. That's funny. So you wrote a book called Almost Black about your experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the greatest name for a book ever. That's hilarious.
So, what is your opinion of like? It's funny because my sister and I were literally talking about this topic yesterday, and I didn't even know that this was what the episode was about. But she was basically saying like that it's crazy that where there's a lot of minorities that are struggling with school, a lot of times it's the education system that doesn't give a shit, and there's no funding, public funding, and B, like there's just a lot of dysfunctional families because of how many people are going to jail or on drugs. Also, because of the government that fucking gave everyone crack and made money to fund a war. Like, there's all these fucking layers to it, right? And they're saying, oh, we should just lower the test scores so that they could get in. Do you think that's fair to students instead of like actually teaching them or helping them to just kind of let them get in with a lower grade? Or like, what are your thoughts on that?
So after I dropped out of medical school because I couldn't cut it, I went back and got my MBA at UCLA. You can see my big UCLA shirt here, which is a school that doesn't have affirmative action. And we had a bunch of Asian American, white, Hispanic, you name it, students there. Everybody got in on merit. I'm not some Harvard grad like Pocahontas who only got in because she said she was a Native American. I got into UCLA based on merit. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying to change the world. I'm just saying every school should be like UCLA, and you should just be like, if you're the best qualified person, you go.
Right.
And if you're not, sorry, that's just life,
Yeah.
That's how the world should be. And it's funny that's in St. Louis too. I found out after I talked to you a couple weeks ago. I realized I was actually I probably did on the phone. But I know that was just funny saying because like St. Louis is very much like that. It's a huge like a victim culture kind of thing, which I think is kind of racist. I think it's actually racist to think that like black people can't compete academically.
That's what my sister said too. she's like, so we're assuming that they're dumber, like, but by us saying like, oh, they're not gonna make it, that's us already like trying to put them down in a way. It's almost like secret, like gaslit. It's like racism that's like hidden. It's like hidden prejudice or hidden like suppression. You know what I mean?
It totally like it gives negative stereotypes. It makes you like think
Yeah,
if you got a
totally.
black doctor, like, did this guy get in based on merit? Did he get in based on
Right. Oh wow, I didn't even think
It,
of that.
it creates some negative
Yeah,
stereotypes. You know, like
You're just
yeah,
terrified me actually
definitely.
now that I see a black doctor. I'm like, now you just terrified me now thinking about that. I'm like, oh God, he didn't have to have that type of score. No, it's, but anyway, no, that's crazy and like funny. And I like that, I like your sense of humor that you can kind of like make jokes about this and not just like, and I think it's like it's a very funny thing to make fun of, really. I think the way you did it's hilarious. And I think that like, I mean, that's just,
it was more fun than should be legal.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. He's like, yeah, Indian people are probably like 1/4 of the world's population too. So pretending to be like a minority is hilarious to me. Would be like, I think most of the world's Chinese or Indian probably at this point. So it's like fun. It's kind of funny to be like pretending to be like, I don't know. It's just a weird concept. I don't understand the new rules that we live by. You know, all this like.
Well, it just like for whatever reason Indians are successful, so we're not considered minorities anymore. I just figured to scam the system.
Yeah.
You know, if the system is going to screw you, screw the system.
Right.
You know, totally. Don't just sit there like a sitting duck,
Yeah.
being like, oh, and you know, I'm part of like, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a Supreme Court decision: affirmative action is illegal. You can't do that anymore. And I'm glad to say that I'm part of the reason for that. I joined Edward Bloom of the Supreme Court. We won, and then also here in California, we won stopping affirmative action, keeping it illegal at UCLA. So I've been active in politics. It's like I went from like a scammer to a civil rights activist. and you know, I think that's like a huge, I thought that's a huge
wild
transition, but you know, there's certain civil rights activists who I think are scammers like Al Sharpton too. So, you know, I think maybe it goes hand in hand. You have to be a scammer in order to become a civil rights activist, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you have to break down the system. You have to prove, it's like you had to prove that the system was flawed in order to point out, see, this is the fucking problem, and then actually do something about it. But it's not fair that like people who work super hard to get into college, that work their ass off to get A's. It's not like, I feel like there's not many people that comes easy for. So like the fact that they're kind of being put at the end of the line, it's just not really fair to people who actually did try. And still, you're Indian. You came from another country. Like you're still like.
I was born here.
I mean, but your family. Like I don't mean like you literally, but like your ethnic wise. You know, it's like who's to say like. It's racist that they're making decisions based on race about anything. Like the fact that they're even bringing race into any of it makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
So a piece of advice for your listeners: do not tell your race. If someone ever asks you your race, and unless you happen to be black, do not check anything. Don't check the box. Okay.
Wow.
When you get accepted to the college of your dreams, you'll remember that I said that. Okay. When you get a job, do not check that box, because if you do, you're in trouble. It's basically going to count against you. I promise you, checking your Asian or white in your application for anything is never going to help you. I promise you that. You know, I have to admit, it was kind of, I mean, the funny part of the story is, you know, I just walked around Chicago looking like I was some Indian doctor's son. You know, this was just, everyone looks at me, they're like, yeah, this guy's some doctor's son, which happens to be what I was. But when I shaved my head, I trimmed my eyelashes, it changed the way people treated me. Like I walked into a store I'd walked into like 100 times before, and people accused me of shoplifting. I was driving on the Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, and, you know, going like 60 miles per hour, which, you know, I'm not a speeder, and I got pulled over, and the cop is like, how did you get, I mean, I was driving my dad's car. How did you get such a nice car? Because apparently I was some like, he thought I was some black dude on the south side of Chicago. He's like, how did you get such a nice car? And I'm like, what? I just changed the way I people treated me. You know,
wow,
I
that's really crazy.
Like, this thing, and there was kind of like the pimpish ass guy. I got like eyes from girls I never thought I had a shot at before. So being black had added benefits, unexpected benefits, and downsides.
Really, they're like, that guy's dick is huge.
So did you end up hooking up with girls that thought you were black?
I had a serious girlfriend at the time. That's part of the story. So I was quite true to her. That's part of the story. She's the one who shaved my head. Actually,
Okay.
that's part of the story is that I had a serious girlfriend at the time.
That's
So,
awesome. No, I was just wondering. So you
And of
went
course,
to,
that's when everyone's throwing themselves at you. You're like, what
yeah.
the fuck?
do you do this in Chicago also, you're saying?
Yeah, so I was a student at U Chicago, so it was the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
You know, just I looked like like I went from being like an Indian doctor's son, obviously a U Chicago student, to a basically looking like a black dude on the south side of Chicago, and then I traveled to 11 American cities: St. Louis, Cleveland,
Wow.
Rochester, New York City, just looking like a black dude. And it's just like it's like people never treated me that way. Now I guess I didn't expect people to change the way because I just like I was like, I'm gonna pose as black, I'm gonna shave my head, I'm gonna join the organization, I'm not gonna actually change the way I behave. And so when people
Yeah.
treated me different, I was like shocked. When
Wow.
I got like 100 acceptances, when I got like walk into the store that I've gone into 100 times, that the store clerk grabs me and throws me to the ground and accused me of shoplifting, I'm like, what the frick, dude? I've been going here for 4 years, dude. What's going on here? And then suddenly realize it's because I looked black. So when I was
Whoa.
this thing, so it does change the way people treat you, which is unique.
That is really crazy. That's really sad. Well, it's weird that you got like kind of two different extremes. You got like either treated like shit or like kind of like treated like better than other people or like accepted into all these like that's kind of a weird polarity to kind of experience.
Yeah, it started as a scam and it kind of turned into a social experiment. It's like
Wow.
I just want to get into med school. I don't want to like do a sociology experiment or whatever. I didn't want it to be like with there's a show Black Like Me about this dude who pretended to be black back in the civil rights, white dude who pretended to be black back in the civil rights movement. That was not my intent. I was just like, I want to get to med school and I'm going to do anything to do it. But I
Wait, so
ended
there
up
was someone else that did that during the civil rights movement?
Yeah, he wrote a book called Black Like Me. He's a white Texan who basically went around the rural South posing as a black dude just to see the differences in the way that people treated him. And he
Whoa.
describes doing to me, I did not intend to do that experiment. I was just like, get in. But sometimes only a liar can see the truth.
Oh, you better get that tattooed above your butt, dude. That's like, it's like a hot ass tramp stamp. Like,
No, it's weird whenever I walked around blackface, everyone just called me a white supremacist. No one, no one. But no, that's interesting the spectrums of that because yeah, I think a lot of people don't really see through the eyes of that, and then, I mean that would make sense. Like a lot of my black friends will go on forever about how racism is still important and real and stuff like that to me, and I'll always argue with them and not necessarily argue, just kind of debate with them. And just it's interesting you said that you were immediately just seen as like a criminal in like convenience stores and stuff like that. I think that's what and the pulled over thing. I hear a lot of stories like that from my friends that are black and stuff. I hear a lot of that. It seemed like 10 years ago more so than now. But it was like I remember hearing a lot of that when I was like a kid and stuff like that. And like just like they would just be looked at different.
It's hard for me to believe it was 25 years ago. So sometimes, I mean, you have to realize Barack Obama was a professor.
Wait, how old are you?
So wait, this was
you're like a vampire.
1999.
Oh man, you're like man, you've been drinking that adrenochrome, bro. You look like 25 years old or something, man. You're like
the black don't crack, buddy.
Yeah, the black don't crack. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I look older than you. That's weird. I didn't realize that, man. That's crazy. So that was a long time. Okay, that was in the 90s then. Okay. So like, yeah, so you did this because like your parents would disown you if you did become a doctor, basically?
No, my parents were cool with the whole thing. They were actually cool. I mean, my sister became an actress, which is not exactly the typical path of an Indian. They were cool with whatever I wanted to do. My mother was a doctor. I wanted to be like her. I also like enjoyed working in healthcare. I turned out that I'm really terrible with patients and stuff like that.
You're like, shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Like this is gonna sound really weird. I did great in OBGYN for obvious reasons, and I failed. I did great in OBGYN because for obvious reasons, and I failed psychiatry. Like if you
Oh,
have
no.
whatever kind of mental illness you guys have or anyone else has, don't ask me because I totally will never figure it out. Okay, so don't
It's
ask me
funny.
because I'll be like your schizophrenia when you have like an anxiety disorder. I'll be like that's kind of why I failed out of med school. I was like this
Same
thing.
thing though, you know.
It's at St. Louis University Hospital. They're like, this guy can't tell the difference between that and this, between like one type of crazy. I think to me they're just crazy, but apparently there's different types of crazy. And if you
Right,
want to be a
right.
good doctor,
The
you've got to
best way
figure
to
out.
be able to tell is when you have crazy in your family. Then you're like, okay. Sounds like your parents were probably pretty normal though.
Yeah.
Well, normal for an Indian family, but like doctors, you know, not normal for like my family. My family couldn't. No offense to my family, they had no chance of being a doctor ever. Like, you know, I love them though. I love them, but no chance.
Well, so
No.
I'm an admissions consultant these days. I help people apply to college and graduate school. In fact, I
Cool.
kind of told my story. It sounds weird for me to be a social activist. I kind of told my story because I don't want other Indian people to have to deal with the same kind of racism, or any Asian people, or frankly white people, or frankly anybody to have to
Yeah.
deal with the same kind of racism. That's kind of why I did this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out, like you have no idea what I've seen. I've seen people who come from nothing, who just work hard in school, they achieve their dreams. So
Yeah.
I don't want you, Anthony, I don't want you to go around saying that, where your parents come from, they couldn't come, because I think if you put your mind to it, the same brilliant mind that made this show,
Mhm.
if you put
Yeah.
your mind to it, you could have gone to Harvard, you could have gone to Stanford, you
Mhm.
could be a doctor right now. I think you chose a great path. Everybody has to choose their own path.
I tried
Yeah.
to get into medicine originally, but they told me I was under 400 pounds and not named Susan. So they're like, well, you can't do this because you're not morbidly obese and have a pill habit, you know. No, but I'm just joking. My mom was like sick for a while. I saw these nurses come through. They all look like they're 400 pounds. It's crazy. Yeah, but no, it's a weird thing. What are your parents disappointed in you that you're not a doctor?
So believe it or not, by the time I dropped out of medical school, I think my parents wanted me to leave because I was so
Mhm.
unhappy there. So,
Yeah.
it was not a fun experience dropping out of St. Louis U down the street
Tough
from
school.
there. Yeah.
Tough school, bro. Expensive,
Yeah.
tough school. Like, yeah, that's I cut through there all the time. I cut through there. I ride my bike. I ride an e-bike through there almost daily.
I didn't realize there's a whole thing that they have to pay reparations now at St. Louis University because it was built by slaves, apparently.
Was
So,
it?
yeah. Yeah, it was built.
Wow, that's wild.
I'd like to see proof of that because, like, I felt like St. Louis was very anti-slave for like a long time.
There's a copy of a document from like 1840, and the
Oh,
words
God.
on the document say, "This person, such and such person, is a slave of St. Louis University."
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Okay, slave of
God.
like St. Louis University. In fact, that's probably why they had these huge affirmative action programs, because they're like, "Holy
Oh, okay.
our
Yeah.
university was founded by literal slaves, like people like
That's fucked
who
up.
worked there, like were literally slaves." And so,
Wow.
I mean, it's just the truth of the South. I mean, this is what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
This-
would.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I wouldn't have even thought that because like St. Louis had like concentration camps for the South and stuff. They were. I mean, they were super union and like during that. I mean, I guess 20 years later they're super union.
Missouri was a Confederate state.
St. Louis was the exception though. Like St. Louis was like they had concentration camps for the South and stuff. They like this city was very anti all that. And so was like, I mean, a couple other options like Rolla and like there's like 5 cities in here that weren't the rest. But statewide, yes, you're right. But there was definitely more. It was how they describe
I
it.
had a great fun. I mean, I had a good time in St. Louis. I guess I wasn't a great medical student, which kind of made this thing. It was a fun city. Had a lot of fun there. I can tell you that. A lot of Indians there, which surprised me. It was a fun town.
We're more real Indians though. You're American. Like more they the real. That's like saying I'm Irish or some shit. It's like I'm like where are my clovers? But no, I've been here. I'm like 3 or 4 generations in. But no, there's a lot of cool Indian people. A lot of good Indian food, bro. A lot of good Vietnamese food. A lot of what was your what time frame were you here again?
I was there like 99 to 2002.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, that was. I don't even know what it was like. 20
But,
years
no,
ago.
well, in those days, oh my goodness, I can't believe the NFL. I forgot the St. Louis Rams were in St. Louis and not L.A. They followed me out to L.A.
Oh yeah, you saw a championship, I guess, didn't you? 99
Yeah.
was a championship here,
Yeah.
and then you saw a championship in LA probably too. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it was hard being a Boston fan. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Reading,
Is that where you're
wearing my Patriots hat in St. Louis. Not
Is that where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from Boston.
That makes sense. No, you're low to the roots, bro. You gotta be low to the roots. Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, Patriots are a damn good team. You watch that roast?
I
Tom
don't
Brady?
know.
My sister keeps telling me to watch it.
Did they tear him
She
to
said Nikki
shreds?
Glacier was the best one.
Did they tear him to shreds?
Oh, it was
She was
brutal,
like,
bro. It was pretty
what do you
brutal.
think? Was it?
I thought it was funny, man, because it was live, so they didn't pull any punches. So and it was like, and it was pretty, I thought it was pretty funny. I have a fucked up sense of humor though, so I think like messed up jokes are funny, you know. So it just goes sports are gay.
My sister was saying that that Nikki Glacier was like the funniest.
Was she? Yeah,
She said all the women comedians were funnier than the men.
That's
I don't know. I
I
haven't
didn't measure it by gender. I'll have to go back and like. But no, Nikki Glacier's from here too. I think she's from San Luis. But and you're in LA now? You said?
Yeah, I'm in the City of Angels. I came out here to go to UCLA. Just stuck around because it's warm and sunny. Apparently, people like me were designed for weather like this.
Dude, Indian food's the best too. It's like 40 different flavors of chicken. Because you guys, there's like no beef or anything like that for obvious reasons and stuff. But it's like
Don't tell my family. I'm not exactly. Let's just say, don't stand between me and a hamburger. Do not stand between me and a juicy steak and a hamburger. I like St. Louis because I like the steaks there. They're really good steaks. Don't tell my family for 2,000 years of being veggies. So.
What was your family's caste system before they came here?
God, I don't even know. I think they were warrior caste or something.
Interesting. No, I was just wondering. That's India's cool.
Well, I mean, if you really, you asked me about a certain organ earlier. My name Chokalingam is actually a reference to the Kama Sutra.
Huh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So my name, like my ancestor wrote a more popular book than me about sex, which you probably heard of.
Wait, your ancestors wrote that?
Well, I mean, if your name was mentioned in the Kama Sutra, you'd probably be like, yeah, my ancestor probably wrote that book.
Wow, that's wild.
Crazy to think about. Yeah, that's one of the. Indian culture is fascinating because, like, when you look at the caves and stuff, they're like when the natives over here were drawing like squiggly lines and buffaloes and stuff. Like, you guys had like murals inside caves. It was like Indian culture is fascinating. Like, I mean, and the Yugas and stuff. Are you familiar with like Hindu? Are you Hindu?
I guess I believe in reincarnation. I think if you do bad things, things are going to come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I mean, like don't stand between me and a hamburger. Let's just say that.
You're like, my karma's terrible, but I believe but I know
I like Indian mythology. Like I really like Ganesha. I've had Ganesha visit me in dreams a couple times. So
the god of wisdom and knowledge.
They have the statue of the god of money, like Shiva or something. Is it Shiva or something like that?
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, that's what it is.
Lakshmi, yeah.
Right. Yeah, Shiva's destroyer of the world. My bad. But Lakshmi was like they had the statue of that in the St. Louis Art Museum too, like the money god or whatever terminology. Yeah, no. Hinduism's interesting. Like the four yugas and stuff like that. How we're in like Kali Yuga and Hinduism or whatever, and like that's like the world, the generation or 1,000-year cycle where like everyone's like evil and like of the devil and stuff. And then I mean that seems kind of real to me. Like right now, I mean it seems like everybody's kind of evil and like whatever terminology. Do you believe in those cycles as well, like more or less?
I think if you do bad things, let me be honest with you. I lied to get into medical school, and so I was destined to never become a doctor. I believe that when you do bad things in this world, you suffer as a result. Now, whether you actually come back, it doesn't. Violence, hatred, racism, they're all self-destructive. And no matter what religion whether you believe in, you have to realize that if you're violent towards other people, if you are racist, if you hate, those things will ultimately destroy you more than they will ever destroy anybody else. So don't lie, cheat, and steal, not because it's good for other people, but because it's good for you.
Well, that's true too. No, I've been 20, so it's hard. It's hard. Like society kind of molds you more than your family in your 20s. So I can see how I can see
Yeah.
how I'm making mistakes like that when you're young and youthful and stuff. But yeah, no, now I'm old and I'm like, I feel that way. And I live that way more so, even if I knew the difference between right and wrong. But so okay, through your experience as well, like what kind and excuse, like you seem like a guy who's pretty transparent and blunt, but I'm just wondering, what kind of racism do you experience as an Indian person first, before I go to the next part of it? Like what kind of I'm just nosy more or less.
People, I mean, people call me like a sand N word. I don't use the N word. Sand N word.
Neighbor.
I assume you know what N word means, but I'm not going to say it on your.
What word? What N word?
Really? Nigger.
How do you say that word? How do you pronounce that word?
Dude, you're gonna get me banned from the internet.
Okay, no,
wow,
you're back to
crazy.
so people would call you that for real? Without even knowing, like, does India have sand?
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, no. I mean,
Does India have sand?
Does India have sand? I guess they're trying to say some sort of thing with the Arab.
A derogatory. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
1 second before I get back to this, like, so yeah, my buddy, they call him, he's like Pakistani and Indian, and they call him Paco because like if you're any kind of brown here, they just think you're Mexican. Like, it's so crazy. It's just to me, it's just like a total lack of understanding of how the world works. Just to assume something's like I can usually tell, like genetically, Indians and Pakistanis are similar. I'd have to talk to them more to figure out which way they are, if they're Muslim or Hindu. But outside of that, I mean, like your culture's pretty, I mean, fascinating to me. So I understand it more. So and it's just funny how
it's not my culture. My culture is America. I mean,
fair.
my sister, my sister is, she emceed an event recently for Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and what's the other guys, and Clinton, when they had like a joint fundraiser. We're Americans. We're Americans. And not to say that I necessarily agree with her because I voted for the other guy, but we're just Americans. We're born here. We grew up here. I look a little bit different. I obviously exploited the whole dark skin thing to get into med school.
Yeah. So you're pretty far separated from, like, how many generations are you?
My parents came to this country from India.
Second generation.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents came to this country from India. I mean, I studied. I mean, at least in high school, I studied pretty hard. I went to the best school I could go to. I tried to do all these things. But what I've realized is that you've got to look inside of someone to see their ambitions, their dreams, their aspirations, and you can become so much more than what you see. And I see that in my role as a missions consultant. I've seen, amazing and hardworking people of all races. If there's one lesson to my story of Almost Black, is that it doesn't matter what your racial background is. It matters what's on the inside. There's ambitions, and don't let one thing about you dominate who you are.
Great point.
Because I passed so easily as Black. It came so easily. I didn't even realize that I was doing it until people started responding me in different ways.
Yeah.
I just think that, sometimes we forget we forget that on the inside we're very different. We're all the same. On the outside we're different.
We're all the same. Inside we're all the same. Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you want to learn,
we all bleed red, right? We all bleed red.
Yeah. We're all the same on the inside.
I think it's I think it's a good point to understand different cultures and stuff, but also not hold it to like a weighing system of how people are. I mean, you can't just be like, oh, well, this person, just because they're born in this part of the world, like, is this? I mean, I think cultures are fascinating, but you're right. There's one race, the human race, and I totally think that's a underutilized kind of point now. And I think it's sad we have to get to that point and reiterate that everyone, this is not common to people. But
so many like generations of social conditioning though, and prejudice and war, and so it's more, I feel like there's more layers to us just being like, oh, we're all people and we can all love each other. Like, I wish it could be that easy, but I think it's also just like culture, how you're raised, how your parents felt about certain races, like all those belief systems are things that we adopt without even realizing they're good or bad until we have already adopted them and become mature enough to kind of make our own decision for ourselves. But yeah.
I suspect that you guys started this podcast because you wanted to have a lot of fun. And you realized that part of that was meeting people who were new and interesting and different from yourself and getting to know them and seeing the humanity of them. And also the humor too. And that's something that's beyond race. And then in many ways, my book is about helping people to get beyond race. I
Yeah.
was almost black, but that's it. It's just like it's skin deep. When you look at someone really, just an Indian dude, he's just an American, and that's America. Many was what St. Louis is the heart of America. I think it's the geographic
Mm.
center of America, and you're seeing how it's changing. We're just becoming one gigantic. We are ourselves Americans. We're just a culture in of itself, and we look a little bit different, but maybe that's what makes us strong.
No, I think
Yeah,
that America's the
definitely.
all-star team. I think. Sorry, Nikki. I keep.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. No, I think America's like the all-star team for. I think the best and brave from everywhere come here for sure. And I think that's. I think it's great, and I love that aspect of this country. I love that everybody's. I mean, just look at this screen. Like we basically have like I mean, you know what I mean? But like 3 different complete backgrounds, and it's cool,
Yeah.
man. It's like I definitely like learning. I think that's the most important part about life, and I think like
Yeah.
I definitely think it's important. Like, so how long did you write this book?
So I wrote it back in 2014, 2015.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So
I didn't realize
that's
that at all.
I got in the New York Post, and I got some buzz back then about it. I was really trying to prevent them from ending affirmative action at UCLA, so that's when I decided to write it. I mean, I basically failed out of med school, kind of buried the story in my past, moved on with my life. Then I found out the Attorney General of the state of California, a woman named Kamala Harris, who you probably
Oh,
heard of, the vice
yeah.
president. She wanted to reestablish affirmative action at UCLA, and I frankly thought that I never would have had the chance to go to UCLA if it wasn't for the fact they don't have affirmative action there. So I kind of wanted to fight that, which is why I kind of came up with my book, which is a funny way. But since
Wow.
then, we've had some pretty extraordinary. I mean, it's not every day you get to change the world. I was part of the Students for Fair. We were part of a Supreme Court decision that ended affirmative action in America.
It's awesome.
Wow.
Change. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's a pretty huge thing. We
Yeah.
won. In 2020, I was part of the No on Prop 16, which kept affirmative action illegal at UCLA. We won 58% of the vote. So it's a funny
Wow.
story. It's this thing, but it's pretty impressive that we're actually able to have an impact and change the world in what I believe is a positive way. So
Yeah,
it's,
definitely.
like I'm a fun guy. I enjoy having fun, but if you can have fun, laugh, and change the world in a positive way, that's kind of where it's at, right?
Yeah,
Definitely
definitely.
agree. Definitely agree with that. That's awesome, man.
100%. That's
Really.
awesome.
DeAndre Patel. Patel's not even an Indian last name. I think they're Iran or something. They're not like an Iranian.
It's a very common Indian name. I think it's Gujarat. There's a certain region of India where they're like the Patels.
Oh yeah, you have so many cultures. You got like 96 languages in that country. It's so crazy. Yeah, but no, that's whole DeAndre Patel. That's funny as fuck. Dude. But that's funny as fuck. But no, I mean it's funny saying like keep saying like you're Indian, and it's like saying like I'm like Irish and like ask me about potatoes or some shit. When I grew up in the same country, it's like oh yeah,
I can handle spicy food.
Tikka masala, man. Like Indian seasoning tikka masala. I love that shit. Like butter chicken and like fucking. Dude, I could eat Indian food all day, dude. I swear, like that.
I love Indian food.
Yeah, I love the spicy this thing, but it's veg, which I can live with.
I was asking my wife. My wife went to Europe, and like I was asking her what like people eat in like Paris and London and stuff. She goes Indian food. It was fun. It was funny. I'm like, what is like a badass like Paris dish? Like, oh, they just eat Indian food there. It was just like funny, like hearing that like that aspect. Like, so are you? I mean, you are an author and you make appearances and stuff like that. But do you have any aspirations to get into like comedy as well, or like, well, because I mean, your story is a great intro story to it.
So yeah, it's a great intro. I tried the whole selling books thing. It was like, frankly, I didn't make much money. I enjoy what I do right now, which is help people to get into college and graduate school. If you want to go to Harvard, I'm the guy you talk to. Nobody knows how to write a resume like me. Nobody knows how to, prepare for an interview like me. Nobody knows how to, say what to say in a personal statement or application essay. It's a whole process to help people to go to college and graduate school. It's a lot of fun. And a lot of people have dreams and aspirations, and helping them to achieve is pretty awesome. Can you imagine like,
cool.
somebody fails out of, I was just telling the other day, somebody this vet, he frankly he went to, he committed several crimes when he was 18 years old, had it on his record. 8 years later, he goes to serves in the military for a couple of years, goes to college, has a 4.0 GPA, and he wants to go become a lawyer. And he's, every single law school he applies to says no, because they're like, you have a criminal record. You have a criminal record, so forget about it. Goodbye. And so he comes to me and asks for help. And so we wrote an 8-page an 8-page character and fitness statement admitting everything he'd ever done wrong and apologizing for it.
Wow.
He gets into 3 law schools. 3 years later, just 2 weeks ago, he calls me up to say, dude, I just passed the bar. In 2 weeks,
Oh, wow. That's
I'm going to be a lawyer in the state of Texas. And
that's
I never
so
would
cool.
have, I never would have had that it's just changing people's lives for the better, giving somebody then they can't achieve their dreams to getting into med school or getting into law school. Can you imagine just having that positive impact on someone? There's nothing feels like that. It's also not a bad living either.
It changes the person's life. You completely change their life, the course of their life. For sure. That's really cool. I bet that's really just soul enriching work.
You can do something. There's no other job where I can do that. So
yeah,
comedy is kind of a dumb job. I do. It's not a real job. It's like a childish thing. I'm just being honest. It's like mumbling into from my perspective. It's like mumbling into 30 minutes, and everybody's like, "Oh, good job, dude." Here's So I can see how it's not as it doesn't.
It's weird. It's weird you say that. My sister's Mindy Kaling. She's a comedian, and she has quite a good life doing it, and she has a social impact too. I don't necessarily agree with all of her political views, but she has a social impact. The Harvard Lampoon has great comedy's a great thing, and you can really.
I think comedy is like medicine. It's like comedic relief. I feel like some people just need comedy to just after having a shitty day at work, put on some fucking comedy.
Yeah, you won't find me dissing comedians. You will not find me.
No disrespect to your family or any other comedians or anything. I'm speaking strictly from my personal experience. It just doesn't feel like a real job. It feels like I'm being Peter Pan forever, And like I said, like I said, everyone has a different perspective and everyone has a different thing. As far as other comedians may do things that I don't, but I just feel like I don't really change the world. I kind of just selfishly self-promote. And then, copy paste sentences, and then somehow that's a job. I watch people in my town work for 60 hours to make less money. I watch all these people do a lot of things. I feel to where you almost feel guilty having everyone's money in your hand from a building. You're like, oh man, all these people worked for this, and they did stuff for this, and I just showed up, complained about it, and smoked weed the whole time, and then mumbled a couple things, and then left again to go to another town to do it. And then slept at a truck stop with my bus. I'm like, man, I don't really feel like it's just my perspective. Again, I think I could have done more. I could have cured cancer maybe or something with my ambition. I could have done something more I don't know, for the world and people in it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's my perspective, but but other communities.
My book is a comic book. My sister was part of The Office. The television show back in the back in 2000, and what's this? It's a multicultural workplace where they have all of the same problems and people have their own squabbles and everything like that. But you see, that's just life. And I think one of the reasons why that show was so powerful was because, frankly, comedy is America's primary means of social discourse. This is how we communicate. More people watch Saturday Night Live than CNN or whatever.
Yeah, they want to live vicariously. I feel like most people are afraid to be themselves, so they basically just have to use comedy to get to speak truth because they're not confident in their own truths. But it's more or less it's like a weird. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird control tactic. Everybody just repeats other people's opinions and memes to each other and pretends it's their personality. And then they try to fit into these categories that are pre-prescribed to where most people are not even themselves or even close to themselves. To where only in America would this job exist with the lack of American royalty. It's more or less it plays in the royalty part of the brain where people want to live vicariously through people eating all the cake or whatever terminology, and they just want to sit back and think about being poor. It's like I don't understand it. I don't understand it completely. I feel like a lot of people make the decision to be an NPC, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, that's rude or whatever. But I just feel like that's accurate,
I think you make a lot of people happy with what you have to say, and that's a gift.
Yeah, we got lots of views. Getting lots of views.
Everyone has a gift. So, as a consultant, what I say is everybody has a gift. My gift is helping other people. Helping other people find their gifts.
I like that.
And I think your gift is making people smile. And that's not a bad gift, buddy. In fact, I wish I had that gift myself.
Well, I think you do with your book, Almost Black. I think you do make people smile with your book. Yeah. My other gift is vaginal herpes. So it's like
just keeps on giving. On giving.
But do you want to throw out some links or something before, keep this kind of short and sweet and stuff, so people, you should check out his book. Hang on, do you have an audiobook of this first off?
Yeah, absolutely. Audiobook Almost Black. Go to my website, almostblack.com. You can check it out. You can hear like a preview of. In fact, I thought you guys would play it. The preview of my book, kind of a preview of it. You can hear it. Kind of the story and a couple cool stories, like me walking into a medical school interview, having someone confront me about not being black. So, it's the funny part of the story is people like, but people did not, didn't anyone figure out you're black? I was like, yeah, that's the climax of the story. Me walking into an interview and having some guy being like, dude, you're lying, but you're black, but you're race, take advantage of affirmative action, aren't you? And me being like, no.
That must have been ballsy for someone to try to call you out, because what if they were wrong and you really were black?
What I said was I want to talk about my background. I want to talk about my qualifications to be a physician, not my racial background. And
you're like, this conversation is making me very uncomfortable. That's so funny.
The system is so messed up, but it was so much, it was so much fun messing with it. My girlfriend at the time said, if they ever do a movie about this, I want to be played by Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's amazing.
That's so funny, bro. Like, no, that's a great story, man. I think this could be a perfect segue into comedy if you want to stop helping people better their lives and want to just want to sell merch, bro. But no, I think and joking aside, I think that is a great introduction to like, I think this could be. Like Bert Kreischer had that machine story. I think this could be like your story to where like you could just like do like a story, like 20, 30-minute story to promote your book even. And then like turn that into a set. I think that would kill, bro. And
I hate to break. I mean, you're in St. Louis. I'm in LA.
Well, I mean,
okay. But let's be honest. Okay, I'm in LA. Hollywood is a very PC town.
Yeah, no, people would probably freak out if you told that story. They would be offended. People would get offended for sure.
I mean, LA, like,
I'm surprised you haven't gotten any hate. Have you gotten any hate from people for it?
I laugh about it. I mean, it's like I'm Indian. I'm fighting racism against Indians. It's not exactly.
Yeah.
It's just what I would do anyway. Like I don't want people discriminating against Indian people or white people or Asians or anyone for that matter.
Right.
Whenever I do a joke that's like racist sounding, I'll just be like, no, it's okay. I can make that joke. All my friends are racist. And that's how I get out of it every time. Every single time. Where I'll be like, oh, no, my grandma was whatever I just said. I was like, I'll just like say like a relative or whatever else, making fun. I think basically this is a perfect time to get, I mean, okay, we're like in, I don't know, I listen to a lot of music, so it's like a music metaphor. We're like in like the early 90s when it's like hair metal's playing and Nirvana's about to come around. You know what I mean? Like cancel culture is about to just get steamrolled. And like, from my perspective, like, and I think that like St. Louis is very like pretend to be LA though. You know what I mean? Like the city itself is like, it's like, oh yeah, we hate all these things and like we're so accepting of people that agree with us. And we're so accepting of people that publicly agree with us, not even like in their heart. But it just seems like, it seems like to me that shit's almost over. And people are developing their own personalities and like, and not just like the hive mind thing,
I would not have come to St. Louis if I didn't get to med school there. I mean, let's just be blunt. I came from Boston. I thought New York, Chicago, LA, St. Louis wasn't really on my list, although it was not a bad place to live when you're in med school, when you're a poor med student.
Great place to get robbed, right? Or buy some crack, It's a good place to buy.
I love crack.
You know what? I have to say the one thing about being dark skinned, I lived in the south side of Chicago. I lived in St. Louis. I never got robbed.
What part of St. Louis were you in?
I lived in the Village, and then I think I lived in Maplewood.
Maplewood's where my bus is at right now.
Crestwood and Maplewood.
Where's the Village at? I've never heard of that.
It's the gay neighborhood in St. Louis.
Oh, that's why. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, I was like, how the fuck?
I-
Is there a gay? I thought that was the Grove. The Grove was a gay neighborhood. Oh, this is 10 years ago. You were here 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was the gay neighborhood in St. Louis. It was actually kind of weird because I just picked my girlfriend at the time wanted to live in the Village because it was the artsy neighborhood of St. Louis, and she was an artist. So I ended up living in the Village, and I made the mistake of telling everyone at St. Louis University that I lived in the Village. They thought that I was gay.
I never even heard of that somehow. I'm from here. I haven't.
I gotta sign off because I'm gonna catch this. I'm gonna go practice my stand up at a open mic. So I just wanted to say goodbye. Thank you for coming on, VJ, and you can keep doing your thing.
Yeah, this is going.
Awesome.
I'm gonna keep bullshitting about it. If you got time, VJ, I'm gonna keep going. We gotta help people.
Okay, yeah, keep going. Okay.
Good luck with your set.
Bye.
I appreciate you coming
Thank you so much.
on.
Namaste.
Yeah, she's getting back into comedy and stuff, doing all that. But no, so yeah, St. Louis is kind of a weird town. It was probably worse 20 years ago. I heard it was all like it wasn't that nice like 20. Now it's pretty now about I'd say a little over half. It's pretty nice, you know. It's building back up again and stuff. It's like but you're here during like the Detroit years, like almost like that. I don't know what that was like 20 years ago. Like I lived in the suburbs and everybody was like, "Don't cross the river." Like even that's how everybody thought 20 years ago.
Yeah, I just drove in every day. I never actually I drive in. I stayed at St. Louis University campus. I didn't really drive around because I just didn't think it was a night thing. My girlfriend at the time had a job in what was it in oh god, the name escapes me. Creve Coeur.
Oh, okay.
This is the nice area of St. Louis. I mean, it was a nice city, economical. You know, maybe if I decided to run for president, it wouldn't be a bad place to be from. But I'm sure then I wouldn't be able to tell the story of how I posed as black to get into med school.
And that story's even funnier in St. Louis because of all the former divide and the current culture and stuff like that. It's like because like being black doesn't seem so militant everywhere else I go. Like, I mean, they'll just be like black people just like not even talking about it at all. Here it's very like they'll tell you a million times. But I think they had to deal with a lot of racism here back in the day or something because you'll hear it's very important and pertinent to a lot of African Americans from here, but not. I'll go somewhere else and like they don't even fucking talk about race. Like,
St. Louis American is a newspaper there. I remember reading it a couple times, seeing a couple of med student friend of mine in it. You know, I think that the African community in St. Louis is very strong, and they have their own voice. And I think the vast majority of the most recent mayors have been African American, at least when I was there.
All the politicians, that's what they do. I'm not going to get into that, but I think this, or I may start. Like, it's kind of what the Democratic Party does. They get like a black guy, and then they're like, "Hey, this guy, he's you guys." Then takes away all the rights. It's like that's my perspective of the entire left part. But I'm not trying to be rude, and you may not.
No, but the city. I mean, it's just one of those places that's incredible potential if it was well run. Yeah. I think it would just be a beautiful place to live because the cost of living would be nice. The streets would be safe. You know, I guess it needs to be Giuliani-ized like New York was just at the same time.
It's the perception. It's the perception more than anything. Because the suburbs comes out. I mean, I work out here. I'm downtown right now in a building like right next to the arch, kind of. So it's like basically like the people from the suburbs where I'm from. They come in here about 3 times a week to see a game, trash it, leave trash everywhere, don't respect it at all. But there's no O'Fallon, Missouri Cardinals, so they all come to St. Louis. And there's no Creve Coeur like Rams or there's no there's no teams out that way west or anything like that. So they all come here and trash it and think low of it and stuff. But really, it's doing well. I mean, it's doing a lot better than it was when you were here. It hit a weird thing about 10 years ago where like people start building up and stuff.
Yeah, but why did they lose the Rams? I never figured that out. It was such a popular team when I was there. It was shocking that when I heard that they're moving out to LA, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I don't want to. I was never a Rams fan because I was a Patriots guy, but to me, it was kind of like offensive, like because I remember how many friends back in going to Rams games, people getting tickets, going to expedition games. There were so many fierce, Rams fans out there, and to see the team move here to LA just to make a little bit more money and then move into the same stadium as the Chargers, it just kind of was like, what's the purpose? Like, don't you have any any local loyalty?
Oh, dude, the locals are pissed about that still to this day. Most of these people watch the UFL now because of the Battlehawks are pulling 40,000 people to the old dome where the Rams used to play. So they're going different league. They dropped the NFL. Half the people around here, bro. They either became a Kansas City Chiefs fan when they started winning Super Bowls, or they don't even watch the NFL anymore. They're that mad at Stan. That was
do you want me to go burn down the Chargers? If you want me to, I'll go burn down the Rams Stadium.
You redeem yourself to Slew, bro.
Yeah.
So redemption for St. Louis. No, Stan Kroenke is basically a villain in these parts. Who basically he pretty much, from my perspective of the story, and I'm not trying to libel or slander anything. This is what I've heard from locals and what from my perception. He was paying players to drop plays in the second half, basically, to make the team not win games, so he could sell it for low or get out of his St. Louis thing. He wanted to get numbers down and all this stuff like that. But St. Louis is kind of like the metropolitan area is about 8 million people, which I mean. So when you look at St. Louis, it's like 300,000 people, but there's like 8 million is the state. Sorry. It's like, I forget. There's millions of people in the metropolitan area. I may be wrong with 8 million. Millions of people in the metropolitan area, they will support you no matter what. I mean, they support the St. Louis Blues, and they only won one Stanley Cup ever. And that stadium's full all the time. Like, this is a sports town. Stan Kroenke is basically a villain to these people, and he was the owner of the Rams. And he sold to LA for merchandising and other things like that. Like, he could resell jerseys to a new market and a bunch of stuff like that. He was interested in, and St. Louis has not forgiven him, like, at all. And by St. Louis, I mean the suburbs mostly. But
I guess I went to business school out here in California. I would love it if there was a tech scene in St. Louis other than Monsanto. I'd like to see like groundbreaking new technologies, internet, everything, like Google, the next Google. I'd like to see it headquartered in St. Louis.
Well, that's funny you said that, because like since you left, like basically there's a new town and part of St. Louis called Cortex that kind of does all that, and the building I'm in right now has a lot of tech companies. That's kind of what we're trying to do because of the low cost of living and stuff like that. Because basically tech's very similar to art. Because I've been like an artist most of my life, to where the tech guys will crash on couches till they're millionaires too. Like that's the only things I've seen. Like a lot of these guys, I click with them because I'm like a creative type, and they're creative too in different ways. So
when I was in St. Louis, the biggest tech company was posters.com.
Oh wow! Oh, it's changed a lot.
I was like my friend. I met this guy. He's like, I own posters.com, and I was like, that's the biggest tech guy. I mean, obviously like Monsanto and stuff like that.
Well, you had
what is it? What is Avis Car Rental? Is it Avis?
No, it's the other
Enterprise.
One. Enterprise, yeah, Enterprise. Well, now you have. So Cash App was developed here. Twitter was developed here. You have some big names now. Microsoft is basically here now too. Among 17 other cities. But you basically have a Microsoft here now. You have they kind of focused on the tech thing the last 10 years or so, and a lot of the schools, like high schools and stuff, have become like tech savvy schools to get people into computer science and stuff like that. And there's a huge, like, when I went to college, there's a huge push towards like cybersecurity.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, I just went to Forest Park. I went to community college out here. I've not yet gone to a university. I'm going to be a professor eventually, so I'm kind of chipping away at my credits and stuff. By the time like comedy gets boring in podcast, nobody wants to hear me talk anymore. I'm gonna ease into where people have to listen to me talk as a college professor. That's kind of what I'm doing later. But yeah, no. But no, there's a huge.
My always thought would be like, you should do a movie or a comedy about St. Louis.
That's interesting.
It's just a great. I mean, obviously, Meet Me in St. Louis. That was the name of the show with Goody Garland back in the day.
That was a big
but
one.
Just like a modern day kind of take on that. Meet Me in St. Louis or something that I often think like St. Louis is kind of like it's the middle of middle America. Like the reason why I always thought I could run for president was because if I lived in St. Louis and get along with people there, it's the middle of middle America. And I really think, some sort of a blue state, red state theme, just to see what it is like the heart of this country. You see there's the coasts, there's, the center of the country. And then this is like St. Louis is the city that represents all of America. I think you'll find a little bit of everything there. And that's kind of what makes the city great, because the same things that make St. Louis great, I think, are also what make America great. There's a lot of, wonderful people from different backgrounds. There's a strong community. There's it's a place that's a symbol of America. I think that's why they always have a presidential debate there. But it really is the symbol of America. And I think that you as a comedian coming out of St. Louis, I think you could do a great show or great movie that just talks about what it is to be an American, and bring that theme in and the different conflicts and things that are going on in our culture. I think that would be something totally awesome. I would love to see you do a movie about that or something like that.
No,
And you use your sense of humor. Use your sense of humor to draw lightness and make it fun, but also catch something deeper.
Yeah, no, this is like a lot of people when I drink downtown with all these people that live down here and stuff, and they kind of call it like a really tall, small town. Like there's like towers and stuff, but it's a really small town kind of feel to it. And it kind of is a microcosm of stuff. Like I feel like the coasts are kind of elitist, in a lot of ways, and a lot of St. Louis pretends to be too. It depends on where you're at. I don't like that kind of like I don't like the kind of like arrogance, like, to be honest, but also I don't like the judgment on my end of calling them elitist, So I just think, like, I don't know. You're right. You made a lot of good points. So I'm saying
I would love to. I would love to. Anthony from Fotis. I love that. Yeah. No, but that's what I kind of want. I want to see you. Meeting. When I was at Chicago, Carl Sagan was there. There's a lot of smart people in St. Louis. There's a lot of smart people in the Midwest. I guess now Northwestern has surpassed Chicago as the top school in the Midwest, which kind of kills me personally as a Chicago grad, but it is what it is. But I would love to see, and there's so many different themes that you see there every day, St. Louis and what it is to be in the middle of America.
Yeah, like you can benefit from everywhere. I think I'm kind of looking doing some shows where you're at, or so. What part of California are you in? Like what part of Los Angeles I'm in?
I'm in Westwood, kind of near UCLA.
Westwood, okay, yeah. That's I haven't been out there since like 2014 or so, and I've been looking to do some shows. I hit up my booking agent to get some shows out there in New York again, because these last so many years have just been a weird kind of like lack of terminology. To not get too political, just weird. And so I've been trying to stay out of those areas and stay in like areas that let me do whatever I want all the time. But I think we're getting back to that and stuff. So I'm trying to book some shows out there now.
Yeah, there's LA comedy. I like to check out the LA comedy scene, especially when I first moved out here. It's great comedy clubs, Laugh LA, stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of my buddies are already doing that stuff too. Like they're like hosting those events and stuff. Like one of my buddies from out here, he's doing pretty good booking like the Comedy Store or something. So it's like, I have so many shoo-ins and stuff. It's just like I was just so biased against Los Angeles for a while, but I think I would just be like, but what changed my mind about Los Angeles, to be honest with you, is because they'd be making fun of how like the homeless population's high, how people are just leaving, going to Texas and all that stuff like that, and all that stuff. And I go, yeah, but like a weak major city in the United States is weak for the entire United States. And I started kind of realizing that, and it took me, rather than like make fun of other people and like their unfortunate aspects of it and whatever terminology, I think it's better just like build up everywhere again. And I think if LA and New York are crashing, that means the rest of the United States are crashing. From my perspective, it's not like I said, I'm very Midwest, so everybody's kind of like, oh, fuck LA out here. They don't really like it. That's just the major. That's just how people view it. They don't fucking take it seriously. It's like the same way people in LA don't really take Missouri seriously. I feel like it goes both ways. It's just a weird divide tactic. You know what I mean? Like this is like flyover to LA people.
Well, Brad Pitt came from Missouri.
He did.
I don't even say Missouri. It's funny. You should say Missouri, and I should say Missouri.
Yeah. Older people.
Remember, it wasn't the Missouri Indians. It was the Missouri Indians.
To be more accurate, yeah, that was the tribe. You're right. And a lot of old people still say that. Like a lot of 50, 60-year-olds plus say that still. But it did not. But yeah, I'm old. I'm like almost 40.
You can't mispronounce your hometown.
No, Missouri's famous for that, bro. Like Missouri, like you'll see a street, it's like it's supposed to be a Gravois, and everybody calls it Gravois. You see another streets like they literally butcher French, they butcher every language and make it their own. It's like when I went to Hawaii and I'm just like, I can't even read these streets. I'm just like making up sounds for them and stuff. And I noticed that I'm very Missouri. That's what we do.
Missouri.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you're really from Missouri if you say it wrong. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I mean. We just butcher the English language.
Look, when I first heard it, I was in college at U Chicago, and there was this smoking hot brunette Let's just say she had other things going for her also. And she kept saying she was from Missouri, and everyone would make fun of her. And she'd be like, but it's the Missouri Indians.
Yeah,
And so
no,
let's just say she and I had a lot of fun. So I started calling it Missouri also. I'm just surprised that you're not.
no, that's more accurate. But no, like we butcher so many words, like just in street names and city names, and we basically it's its own culture, man. And I kind of like people. What I like most about Missouri is people don't understand Missouri or know anything about it when you go anywhere else. And I kind of like that. Like they'll kind of know what St. Louis is, or now the Chiefs are winning Super Bowls. They kind of know about Kansas City a little bit, but like in between those cities, they have no idea, bro. They have no idea what the culture's like or anything. And I kind of appreciate that.
It's not north or south. It's not east or west. It's kind of in the middle. It's a little bit of everything.
It is. It's farmland and cities and all that, and suburbs. It's like a meaner Nebraska. Like when I go to Nebraska, it's very similar to Missouri, except for everyone's polite. Well, like whereas like we're like here, unless you're in a really small town of like 1,000 people, those towns will wave at you and say hi. But nowhere else, it's kind of a fuck you kind of state. Like and kind of like New York's kind of like that too. I think like New York State's kind of like that. Whereas
I don't. The Midwesterners are the nicest people in this country. Really.
I feel like Missouri's not like that as much as the rest of the Midwest. Like Iowa, Nebraska, they're all very. Maybe
that wasn't my experience. I mean, that wasn't my experience. People were just friendly, nice. In fact, I think I kind of kept that when I left. I kind of kept that friendly attitude when I left Missouri, just kind of like the friendly Midwestern vibe.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess. I never know what someone coming in would think.
I mean, like Boston, New York, people aren't friendly.
They're way
not friendly.
Yeah, walk around Chicago, man, was crazy because like these homeless people are basically like screaming for money and like everyone just ignores them. It's so crazy. I don't know how they fucking do that. Like it's just I'll watch these guys outside just like basically begging for help or conversation.
You should see a layout. In fact, sometimes you might hear in the background like some homeless guy walking down the street, totally insane, needing his Haldol and totally screaming on my own street. So LA is gone. LA is not what it once was. Let's just say that.
LA has
not even the last 10 years.
Yeah. I see San Francisco as the craziest homeless people I've ever encountered. Like California has a different breed of homeless people. Here they're just like sad, and they're like, "Hey, can I get a bag of chips or something?" And then in Chicago, they're kind of like sad too, but like California's homeless people are a different breed. Those guys are just
you can live outside all year long.
That's
in LA.
why they're there, probably. Yeah.
I mean, you can live outside. I mean, I live here. I leave my window open most of the time, but. Just because I like the fresh air, but LA is just a difference. It's even the last 10 years, it's gone downhill so much. Really, it just, I remember what Westwood, like near UCLA, was 10 years ago. It's just changing, and it's not for the better. It's not like when Riordan when there was a rich guy, Richard Riordan, who was mayor of the city, cleaned it up. Giuliani did that in New York. I think we need that again. We need somebody to come clean up the city.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's like it's on purpose. It seems like because the problems are so easy to fix. That's what like when I look at like St. Louis, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong here? Like you mean and like people from the suburbs are just kind of like assholes. Like also like I'm from there, so I mean I was kind of like that too. That's or at least from my internalization. We'll see. They're scared of poverty and they just think everybody's a criminal. It's just like weird to me to see and like. There's so many easy ways to fix it. I feel like. I think like the CIA brings drugs in, sells it to them, arrests them for using it, and like basically, and like, this is all on purpose. This is like the remnants of the privatized prison complex, basically. And they want everybody in jail and like the new slavery. The 13th Amendment is basically the 13th Amendment. Basically, like everyone's like, oh, like they got rid of slavery. I'm like, oh no, they didn't. Oh no, they didn't. They rebranded it to where if you go to jail, if you're a felon now, you're a slave. And they basically rebranded that shit. And this is the remnants of that, basically. These people are basically
Napoleon said something. He said something along the lines of, "Don't attribute to malignancy what can be attributed to incompetence."
I'd say that too. No, I'd say this is the remnants of that, though. I'd say it's both. I'd say it's basically the incompetence that goes with being able because like I would argue most of Los Angeles is the waiting room for the privatized prison complex. You have a 3-strike rule there. You have a lot. They're just waiting to make those guys all slaves. That's what from the shareholders of the prison complex guarantee. Who else does it benefit? You know what I mean? They would stop any. Okay, when you said COVID, this is kind of like I don't know what platform I'm still live on, but like Rumble and X aren't going anywhere if I say this. But I'm saying when I used to say COVID was like I'd make fun of like any kind of criticism of COVID or any kind of criticism of like how they ran the defense mechanism against a virus or whatever terminology. Like you get banned really fast. They make it you not say. So anything they want you to do, anything they don't want you to do or don't want you to say is pretty fast covered. I'd argue. I mean, these people wouldn't be allowed to be there if they didn't want them there.
Okay, so at UCLA,
yes,
at
sir.
UCLA, I wrote my master's thesis on, of all things, the Chinese health education system.
Okay.
So I have some theories as to the origin of COVID, but again, it's like I said earlier, don't attribute to incompetence don't attribute to malignancy what someone could attribute to incompetence. I think the U.S. government, Fauci, all these guys, they spent a whole bunch of money, and they basically to build a lab in China, some godforsaken town named Wuhan in China, where they stockpiled all the evil viruses, and because like they have no such thing as safety in that country, they basically let them out. When you stockpile, if I told you the most dangerous thing in the world was a virus that lives on a bat in southern China, your first idea would not be, well, why don't we stockpile it in a place called Wuhan? Let's stockpile all the viruses in a place called Wuhan. Okay. And so, they have no security, nothing. So it got loose. And, obviously there was a cover up, but the cover up was not that we tried to do something terrible. It's that we're a bunch of fucking idiots who let this virus loose. And, I use this example when I was studying healthcare in China. They always tell this story. There was a problem in China where they basically poisoned the baby milk. They poisoned the baby milk, and everyone who was involved in that crisis was executed. Ooh. Every single one guy, he got on his knees. It was just like a scene out of Game of Thrones. Okay, the guy got on his knees and begged for mercy in court because he'd poisoned the baby milk. And you know what they did? They killed him. They killed him. Okay, so if I'm a guy sitting in a lab in Wuhan, China, and I accidentally, released, the COVID-19, like literally the one in a century plague. You think I'm going to go to the Chinese government and tell them, oh yeah, I accidentally released COVID-19 on the world? You think I'm going to admit that? You know what's going to happen to me if I do? Okay, I'm going to die in a scene out of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? So they just hit it all.
No, that's interesting.
That's my theory of the origin of COVID, because I understand the culture, and because that's what I wrote my master's thesis on. But anyways.
No, that makes a lot of sense. They're definitely they're more publicly like that where we lie about it. But I think I personally, this is going to sound bad. I think it's all fake. I think it's all TV graphics. I think we had lower deaths in 2020 than we had in 2019. I think we had lower deaths in 2021 than we had in 2019. I think it was all TV graphics and flu numbers attributed to the COVID death space. So anyone that died from COVID technically died from the flu, and it was just replaced numbers. We had 0 on the flu, and we had the same numbers for COVID. I think it was a power struggle. It was a power move for basically a power grab, a global power grab. We got rid of the sitting U.S. president, deleted from social media, did all this other shit. Deleted countless other people, put people in jail for not believing it. If something's and then the pharmacies made record profits, basically selling us poison. Overall, I think it was a depopulation / sterilization grab from a disease that didn't even exist, from my perception. But obviously, I'm not going to argue the truth of that.
What I don't understand is, I got my vaccine. Vaccine. Okay, let's pretend for a second you believe this whole virus nonsense. Let's pretend.
Right. Fair.
Let's live in the little world of these COVID-19 fanatics. I got my vaccine, okay, in 2021, March 12th. Okay, that was the day I got my vaccine. It was not for another full year that they opened up everything. Okay, let's live in this pretend world where vaccines are effective. On the day I got that vaccine, they should have just been like, go about your business. You've been vaccinated, go. They took away a year of my life. A year of my life. It was not until March of 2022 that they actually said, hey, just go about your business. Like, I don't get it. Like, let's live in this world that you guys live in, which vaccines are effective.
And
Okay.
some vaccines are effective. I just don't think that was even a vaccine. I think that was RNA technology, and it was we had Pfizer people on before. It's not even a real vaccine. Like polio is a real vaccine from my perspective. But I'm just saying, like, I think
When I was at St. Louis University, there was the doctor, I'm going to mention her name because I think she sucks, named Sharon Fry. Okay. Who taught infectious disease. And so she developed, I remember in her class, she would always say that a vaccine has to be 50% effective. Okay. The COVID-19 vaccines were not 50% effective.
not what they told us they do.
No,
At
they,
least.
they were not 50. The data shows that they were more like 43% effective. Now, they were good at preventing deaths, but they were not 50% effective. Okay, that's what Sharon Fry used to say. Now, the other thing I always want to notice about Sharon Fry, who is at St. Louis University, was that she did research on smallpox. Okay, smallpox is a disease that has been extinct. Even 25 years ago was extinct for 20 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what the heck is the CDC spending money, okay, developing a vaccine for a disease that has been extinct for 20 years, now 45 years? Okay, what the heck are they doing? Okay, and the reason they gave that money is because your representative, a guy named Richard Gebhardt, wanted to get money in St. Louis. Now you're all sitting here laughing. Well, isn't it good that we get money for St. Louis, right? You're being like, that's good. Well, instead of developing a vaccine for COVID-19, or actually not COVID, it's for SARS. Okay, SARS, which was the predecessor of COVID-19. We were developing vaccines for smallpox, which has been extinct for 40 years. So 5 million people died. 5 million people. Let's live in this world of the vaccine, okay? Because instead of developing vaccines for SARS, which could easily have been transferred to COVID-19, we were developing vaccines for smallpox, which has been extinct for 20 years because Representative Gebhardt had money. Okay, so I just remember the weird part about it was the insight I had living in St. Louis is if there was an outbreak of smallpox in St. Louis, okay, when I was in St. Louis University School of Medicine, do you know where everyone would have known it came from? Dr. Fry's lab, Dr. Sharon Fry's lab, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if there's an outbreak of COVID-19 next to the stockpile in Wuhan, China, where do you think it came from?
Yeah, I know the story. I just watched all the securities and stuff. It's weird. It felt I never know the answer, but I could tell when I'm being lied to, and like that's more or less how I feel about it. Like my opinions are opinions at best, and not theories even because nothing's proven. But more or less my just like when I saw Trump on the screen with like a room full of people, and he's like, hey, you don't want to be in a room with more than 4 people. I'm like, you're telling like 200 seated people this with like 12 to 20 people on stage. I'm like, you don't even believe what you're saying. And so the whole time was very fishy and fuzzy. And I have a million just like obstacles from like believing anything they've ever said. And plus, the pharmaceutical industry basically bankrupts you if you have any disease like cancer or anything like that. I mean, I've watched these people like prey on my mom when she was sick. I watched them prey on like everybody. Like elders, stuff like that. So I mean, for them to be like, I'm giving you a free thing.
Are they going to ban you for this, by the way, for this art discussion?
I don't care. It's I don't have to ask permission for words. I don't think, but I at least that's what the Bill of Rights says. If that supersedes anything else, But yeah, no. But this is Rumble and X and all that. We're fine.
I mean, so theoretically, I'm not actually saying that vaccines don't work or something crazy. I'm just saying that the way that it was handled was pretty messed up.
At least I'll meet you there, and I think that's a very good common ground. Is that it was handled completely like hopefully with incompetence and not just evil. But it was a weird time, and like you said, we lost a lot of time. I mean, Missouri's a weird time. It was like basically nothing changed if you left the city. If you went to like this like where I'm from, people are eating buffets and stuff with 80-year-olds. I mean, and you look at Florida. I mean, nothing happened to Florida. And like some like, and the Amish community wasn't decimated. I'm just like, dude, come on, doesn't like when I look at anything, I'm just like, this just seems like a bunch of lies. And like I don't know what the purpose is. I'm not gonna act like I have the answers. I can just tell you nothing seemed real.
LA was terrible. They just shut down the city for 2 years.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Shut down for 2 years. It was like the most fun place on earth, and then they just shut it down for 2 years.
That's what I heard. I mean, most major cities were like that. Even St. Louis and Kansas City were like that here, brother. Like, and then they thought fear was a virtue, and like if you weren't scared and you weren't these people were wearing trash bag hazmat suits around, bro. Just like and like the amount of bleach on things, and the amount of like hand sanitizer, like I mean, they are poisoning themselves with like these like weird impurities, and I'm just like watching everybody just like freak out. And I'm just like, I'm worried about being put in a concentration camp. To be honest, when I saw it, I'm like, man, are they gonna put me in the American version of Auschwitz? I'm like, what is going on? I mean, that's how I felt. Or like we're about to be attacked, or it seemed like warfare. It seemed like this weird economic warfare because I think our economy was passed up by China during that time. I mean, not that it needed that even probably at the rate that it was going, but I still think that like I mean, our economy was passed up. Our dollar went down in value. Our dollar's worth half as much as it was in 2020.
No, but my honest take is that I don't think it actually had an impact. Like all of these security things, I think that everyone got it anyway.
That's what, yeah.
I mean, like end of the day is like you can use all the security precautions if it just means that everyone's going to get it anyway. I think everyone in America by 2022, before the vaccine even came out, had already been exposed to COVID-19. And they'd either gotten sick and did, or they didn't. And I don't think that all of these precautions, I don't think any of them made a difference because the virus is just so this. It's like you didn't save one life. I don't think that the precautions, I don't think they saved one life. Maybe the vaccines saved lives, but I don't think that anyone who didn't get COVID-19 would have got it anyway. I think everyone was exposed.
Did you get all 3 shots or did you get 1?
So I got all 3. I got all 3.
How old are you again?
My 47. So
47. Okay, yeah, that's weird because a lot of those people like you must be pretty healthy or something. Like, well, I mean, but it seemed like the more buff people were, they're falling fast. I mean, you had a lot of athletes drop dead. You had, I mean, just in the last couple of years, that was a new thing. You had, I mean, a lot of people I went to school with are dying still. I mean, I went to. I mean, there's probably last week. I mean, last week there's probably 3 or 4 funerals. Just out of people I knew around here. I mean, people die no matter what. That's not new. But I'm saying like these people are dying pretty young of heart attacks that didn't used to happen. And like there's a lot of stuff happening still. Be it the virus or the vaccine. I'm not sure which. To be honest, I mean, evidence wise, I'm not sure which.
I think it's one of those things. If you're elderly, you got sick, but a regular person,
like the flu.
Yeah, you got sick, but like a regular person, I don't think it made a difference. But the problem is they insisted you took away your freedom. Look, if I'm willing to jump in I jumped in my car, I didn't put the seatbelt on, I drove to the mall, okay, and then I didn't wear my mask. Which should I put myself in more risk? Driving to the mall without my seatbelt on, or not wearing the mask? And the honest truth is probably driving to the car without my seatbelt on was more likely to result in my death. But they let me do that. You know what I mean? They let me do that. I can do that if I want to. So it's one of those things. I don't know why. What happened to the American idea of freedom? You know, like what happened to this? Yeah, what happened to the idea that look, you can do whatever, you can say whatever you want to do, you do what you want to do, and obviously, like if I say I'm going to kill such and such person, you know, that's obviously I should go to jail. But if I just I want to do this thing, why is this? Where did this culture come from? Anyways.
No, we lost a lot of balls here, man. You're right. That's a great point. We lost a lot of ground, and I think we've been losing ground for generations. It seems like it's like I look back at all the farmland swooped up when they tricked everybody into going to the cities. I mean, they've been tricking us for a long time. And we've been slowly losing rights. I mean, America is not the same as it was in 1776 to right now. We have a 40 to 50% tax rate. We have it is nuts right now, and the dollar is only losing value. But I still love it. I love America. I love what it stands for. I love what it's supposed to be. And I think that we're going to go through some weird renaissance. And I think some people were kind of fucked up, making a lot of mistakes. And I think we'll get back to a president that can fucking walk upstairs and tie his shoes and be able to form a fucking sentence eventually.
Look, the bottom line is Washington University, St. Louis University. You want to go to college there? You want to go to graduate school there? You want to become a doctor? And you happen to be a white person or an Asian American like me? They're going to discriminate against you when you apply.
The whole world does.
They're going to discriminate against you when you apply. And it's one of those things that is perfectly legal. It's perfectly legal until the Students for Fair Admissions decision. And you can say, maybe people have had to overcome struggles, but I don't get it why it's legal for St. Louis University to take my tax dollar and your tax dollar, be tax-free, Washington University be tax-free, okay, get all these benefits in government and still discriminate. It should be like, you guys want to do that, give us back the tax money, pay taxes like everybody else, don't get any government money, and then you can do whatever the heck you want. Okay, the problem is that all of these places, they discriminate. That's kind of what my book was about, Almost Black. It's about ending that kind of racism, just putting everyone's on the same playing field. Now, I'm not saying that grades and test scores are the only way you should assess somebody. Okay, you can assess people based on letters of recommendation, how well they do in an interview, how strong their ideas are, how funny they are, how exciting they are, how much they can inspire others. Those are all great things to assess someone on. But on race? Really? Isn't this what the Civil War was fought over? Isn't this what everything was, just so that we're just like, hey, you're applying. I don't even care your race. I want to hear how smart you are. I want to hear how great your ideas are. I want to see if you're hardworking. I want to see if you're easy to get along with. Those types of things. And it just, St. Louis University, SLU, these schools, they discriminate. Grinnell College, these schools, they discriminate. And
8:00 p.m.
It's got to stop.
I think we should judge people on the color of their teeth.
That's a fair way to. I think honestly, that's a better way to judge people than the color of their skin.
No, it's weird. I mean, what you're saying about the college process and the discrimination within that, I'm hearing across the board in businesses. I mean, I've had actors come on here and say they're not getting roles because they're white. I've heard like a lot of other people say that, and just in basic marketing, people want to hear things from people that look like them. That's all. That's why like all my friends that play guitar classes like Buddy Holly. That's why when I was a fat kid, I liked Babe Ruth. Like people just want people that look like themselves to pitch them things and tell them ideas. And it's never actually about race; it's just about relatability. And like in business as a whole, and like this forced diversity is insane because I mean, clearly I believe in true acceptance and in true diversity. I don't believe in like the propaganda wing of it though. To where it just seems like it's just a way to exploit people and get rid of the European race or whatever terminology, whatever dumbed down version of it is. They don't like white European people, and like I mean. I don't even care. Like, I mean, like they can hate me all they want. That's how I prefer to be hated. Like, you'd be honest, it's more fun to me because, like, when I went to Hawaii and I was like, just get eaten off the resorts and stuff like that. All those people looked like they fucking wanted to kill me, and I didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I'm still eating food and I'm still eating fucking lobster and shit. I'm enjoying my life while all these people hate me, and I think it's fun. To be honest, I'd rather be hated than loved. As far as the mass level goes, I mean, clearly with my wife and immediate friends and family, I prefer to be loved, but. Outside of that, I mean, I love pissing people off. It's funny.
Look, I grew up in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was born in this country. I grew up in this country. I don't look like everybody who lives here. I don't.
I think you do now.
I talk like them. I don't look like them. But to me, it's just not been my experience.
I think you do now. I think you grew up in a different period of time. I think there's more Indian people here in Canada and America now than probably ever were, to be honest. Because So I think it's more, if you were a 20-something-year-old, I don't think you'd have the same problems that you had to deal with in your lifetime. From my perspective, I think it was way more racist back in your day than it is now.
No, but even then, people were very welcoming.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying,
I just don't. I mean, I don't. People say America is a racist country. I mean, I don't say it's wrong. We got problems of racism.
It can be, yeah.
They have problems like that in India. They have problems like that in everywhere. But I really think that this is a very welcoming place. It's a place where anyone from any background can kind of just meet, hang out. And, I say you can hate everyone equally. So ending racism does not mean that you have to love everyone. It just means you have to hate everyone equally.
Yeah, I love jokes. Like I love the jokes, and I hated that we had to get away from that for a little bit. There's like a 10-year period of time where people were nervous to make race-related jokes, and I think that's important in acceptance. I think it's important to bust each other's balls. And I think bullying is a process of life. I mean, don't go overboard with it. Don't be like hitting these people and committing actual hate crimes, not pretend hate crimes for power. But I'm just saying, like I think racist jokes are fucking funny. I mean, I don't care if people make fun of being pale, bald, fat, whatever the fuck. I don't give a fuck. It's like I think it's just fun. It's all in fun, and I think like that's what we need to keep it with is that vibe. It's more about the vibe than it is the action. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you could have somebody say something nasty to you, like you were talking about, like as a kid, people call you names or whatever, and say, I mean, same with me. I had glasses on, I was fat. I mean, of course I got made fun of. I mean, children are fucking brutal no matter what you look like, dog. You know what I mean? Like you be the best looking person in the room there, make fun of you being that, and call you gay. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, you can't win. You can't win with kids, bro. They're probably different now. It seems like my wife's a teacher. They said they're different now. But when I was a kid, bullying was like a pro sport. You know, it's like, and like that's what comedy is to a degree too. It's like good humored bullying. You know, and I think that's what the difference is.
No, but there's nothing like walking into a medical school interview and having someone confront you about the fact that you're lying about your race.
That is
having
funny.
to fight and having
That
to
is
fight
funny.
back. And if I hadn't had to overcome challenges in my life, I don't think I could have walked into that ambush and walked out. So as funny as it sounds, I think that the challenges that you're describing actually make you stronger.
Yeah.
They don't having to overcome those things actually makes you a stronger and a better person. You know, because you've been to the feet to the fire. I still remember there was this girl during the Kosovo War or whatever. There was this Serbian girl in my high school, and she went in front of everyone and she defended the Serbs who were like committing whatever thing in the Kosovo. And to this day, I admire her because she had the courage to go in front of all of these people and defend her culture and where she came from. And
I agree.
Does not make you stronger?
I think so. That's probably why they want people doing it. They want everybody to be weak like people, you know? I mean, that's what it seems like to me. It's like, I mean, man, I'm everything that they said is reward. I'm supposed to have all this white privilege, all these things are so handed to me, whatever the fuck people tell me, especially in this city, they tell me that. But I mean, in first grade, I thought my name was faggot. You know, everybody was calling me. I mean, like everybody just calling you fucking names the whole time, no matter what you fucking look like, bro. You mean it's like that? So it's just like you're gonna get your balls busted no matter what, and then it made me a better comedian, man. I mean, my parents were brutal and funny. I mean, not like in a negative, not like in an abuse way, but like they're just funny fucking people that you had to like have some kind of comeback with. You're eaten alive. You mean, and I think that's what the world does also. I think kids say. And it makes us all stronger, wiser, smarter. Because when we mess up and we get roasted, we don't make those mistakes anymore. You know, I mean, we learned. They put in all these wrinkles in our brain from the roast. You know.
Yeah. Man. All right, buddy. It's been a great pleasure being on. What time are we scheduled till?
Whenever. Yeah, if you want to get out of it, brother, we'll go to almostblack.com. Check out his book, assuming you could read. If you can't read like me, get the audio book because he did that for dummies like us. Check it out. Copy paste his book and all your friends' messages on WhatsApp, on Facebook, whatever. However you hit people up, tell them all about this book. Thank you for going backwards in your career by being here. I appreciate you. I'll sign your paperwork at the end of this for your community service. Come on there.
No, but look, the bottom line is, I think I made this point earlier in this discussion. I think you started this podcast because you wanted to bring people together. And I hope that this episode has really done that. I think it's funny to make jokes about it, maybe be a little bit self-depreciating, but I think you're doing a good thing here.
Thanks, bro.
You're communicating a good message, having fun, inviting people from different backgrounds, hearing their stories. And I think that is a service. That's a good thing. And I know sometimes you like to diminish the value of being a comedian. I think it's a great profession. I think that giving people smiles is in many ways the greatest gift of all. I help people to achieve their dreams. You help people to smile. And I think that that's a really meaningful thing too.
Well, thanks, man. That was like the original Mr. Rogers, like ending. You know, we did we did very wholesome, very true. I mean, very true. What you said is true and interesting. Next week, we're going to have you back on with a wig and pretend you're your sister so we get those views up. Dude, I legit appreciate you, man. Be in touch anytime you want to promote something. If you want to come on here, run your mouth with some people too, you're welcome back, man. Great guest. I appreciate you. And again, if you guys are watching this,
by the way, I do want to say Josh Howley is awesome. Josh Howley is awesome.
I thought that was going the other way. I thought it was going the other way when you first said it. No, I love Josh Hawley. If America goes the way it should be, will be president like one day, in my opinion. One of the best politicians we have, man. Like that actually stands up to China and all these other things that I don't like, to be honest with you.
He's a strong opponent of affirmative action racism. I think it's very courageous that your senator is fighting for the rights of Asian Americans to have equal access to education. I think that's a very noble thing that your senator is fighting for.
No, Missouri's politicians go hard, bro. Like a lot of these guys are amazing and almost heroic, dude. Because like a guy like Hawley going after the slave, he was trying to pass a bill that obviously got denied, but he was trying to pass a bill basically saying that any company that made over $500 million and uses slave labor should be fined $500 million. And I love that thing too, because like the Asian slave trade with like the Uyghur people and like the Chinese people and the Korean people, whoever else were enslaving over there in Thailand or whatever other country. I think that needs to come to an end. I think he's going after that too. And I think a lot of these Missouri guys are going really hard. They called a lot of names. And the least racist politicians get called racist all the time. It's like insane to me. Like you see these billboards, bro. They hate Holly. I mean, the state loves him, but like the city and the outsider people trying to influence people here. He's definitely a controversial figure, and that's awesome we know about him, man. That's I definitely appreciate what Holly's done for Missouri and America, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I obviously he's I haven't lived in St. Louis in a while. It's just for you to determine, but there's no reason why colleges like St. Louis University or WashU should discriminate against Asian Americans and white people. Howley's doing a lot to stop that. He's protecting the rights of Asian Americans. He didn't have to do that. The only reason he did it because it's right. It's the right thing to do, and that's why I admire him.
No, he's doing a lot of great stuff, man. Like I love that guy. I've been trying to have him on the show too. I've had a lot of politicians from Missouri on there. He's definitely one of my I'd say one of my political heroes too. Like I'd say he's up there, man. But yeah, no, I'll stop talking your ear off, brother. I'm sure you got better things to do. It's a little bit earlier in your day. So if you're one of the people watching tonight, thank you so much for. We got like 2,000 people on Rumble, a couple of thousand cross-platform on top of that live right now. So thank you all for spending your Monday watching us solve the world's problems. And I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on here, man.
Hey, there's nothing more than you can have fun, pose as black, go on an adventure across America, have more fun than should be legal, and also change the world in a positive way, right?
Yeah, dude. If you want to do a comedy show and I'm in LA, you should jump on, man.
I'll be happy to join.
That'd be awesome. You're in LA. You're not committed. You're not committed verbally through a video to do a show.
I am.
So don't think you're getting out of it. I'm going to hold you to that.
I'll be there. I did my try at stand-up. I'm just not as good as you.
Well, you haven't seen me yet. You might be surprised. You might be. Maybe I'm the worst comedian ever. You never know. But I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on here.
Thanks a lot.
Check out his book. You can get it at almostblack.com. I appreciate him coming on the show and stuff. Definitely. I mean, we saw him on Fox a couple weeks back, and then I thought it was hilarious. Guy has a great sense of humor, very intelligent, very articulate. I think that's very important for today's culture. I think that anyone can be mean and vindictive, but if you add humor to your kind of movements and stuff like that, and good energy, I think you could save the world. I think he's in the process of doing that, like we're all trying to do in our own ways. And like I said, thank you for spending your Monday night like this. I'm sure you had better things. Nah, you probably did. You probably didn't have anything better to do, did you? But that's why you're here. Well, thank you. And without you watching this, without the sponsors, without the guests, this would be completely delusional. This would be a Zoom call. So thank you all for watching. God bless you. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.